the Australian people love sandstone. It's part of our landscape and it will always continue to be part of our landscape. It just brings a building to life because it keeps changing. It's just not always the same. You know, when it weathers, it looks different than when it's fresh.
It's timeless. It's not driven by fashion. It will fit in with fashion. It will fit in with glass and stainless steel as much as it will fit in with timber and federation.
You just can't really beat sandstone. You get a completely flowing dynamic facade purely just from the materials, colour variations and textures that it gives you.
Gosford Quarries, when I started, it was a family company. And that company, they had a passion. It was taken over by a corporate company. The corporate world doesn't have the passion, doesn't have the drive. Then the Sarkis family took over again, and it was back to a family-owned business. And it makes a difference at the top end. The owners are involved. The passion that they brought, it was back to what it was. They are stone people. They understand. And that relates back from the quarry to the production into the sale.
We're very hands-on as a family business. We basically have a few facets of the company. We've got the quarrying element, which is the extraction, which is the civil products as well. And we've got our directors, George and John Sarkis, who take care of that. They have an incredible passion for the extraction process and a love of the material itself. The other two brothers who are also involved with the company, Sid and Issa, they're both in production and also sales. And they're basically the running force behind the production facility, making sure that everything arrives on time and everything gets processed accurately and to the requirements of the client.
We came out from Lebanon with the quarrying background. My father had a very small quarry in Lebanon. The boys all grew up around the quarry. Came out here, they continued to do the same thing, again on a much smaller scale. They built themselves step by step to become what we were, Sarkis Brothers, a small processing plant. And in 2013, Gosford Quarries come up for sale. And for us to be able to purchase Gosford Quarries was a big dream come true. I'm very proud to say that, you know, the family played a big role into bringing Gosford Quarries back into its former glory.
If you look at the history of Gosford Quarries, we've had certain phases, and the latest phase is when we were bought by the Sarkis family. And probably that was the saving grace of the company. You know, they come in with a passion and a drive that we hadn't had in years, and they also come in with a checkbook.
The Sarkis family have invested, not scared to invest in manufacturing in Australia. That's a rare commodity these days.
We're proud to be part of the Australian landscape because our product is from the Australian landscape and our projects shape the Australian landscape.
We specialise in a variety of areas, including residential, commercial, civil and landscape and heritage, and that can be reflected in a lot of the projects you see around Australia. Some of the many projects we're involved in, specifically in Sydney CBD, would be 275 George Street, 333 George Street, 200 George Street.
Whether it's Martin Place, George Street, anywhere you get in the city, nearly every second building has Gosford Quarries sandstone featured on it somehow. 200 George Street would definitely be one of my favourite projects, simply because we were involved from the extraction to the processing to the artist painting the stone by stone, laying in our yards in Somersby and delivering the material labelled, each stone labelled to make the story. Something beautiful. It's just, you know, it's a whole story on the wall, and it's going to be there for a lot of years.
really on the back of 275 George Street. We work with Gosford Quarries and the builders John Holland quite closely. We know of Gosford Quarries before that, having done a number of projects, Harbour Diggers, Cranbrook School most recently, Circular Quay Tower, Salesforce Tower with Lend Lease. But yeah, most recent experience with 275 George Street. It was about the right response to its context and the sandstone, the use of the materials, how it was going to react, how the different finishes would respond was a really interesting learning process for us. And I think something that our guys, that my team, will have learned and will take on going forward.
One of the unique projects that we've been involved with, which incorporates a landscape and a commercial sort of project, is the Barangaroo project, producing new blocks for the retention of the foreshore. Gosford Quarries has also supplied the cladding for the Barangaroo Towers, which is in our exclusive Piles Creek cream.
In 2018, we started the project of building this hotel for Hilton. You can see there's all of these very fine detailing in the stone. There's these beautiful birdmouth arises on the corners. There's these beautiful cutouts that were done just for lift call buttons, for lighting. Rather than using, standard round columns, we wanted the ellipses. And so that's why we came to Gosford Quarries. We weren't confident that we could get that level of precision from an overseas manufacturer. There's a group of people here in Gosford that are their technical department, and having someone that you can just call and go, hey, we're thinking about trying to do this. Are we mad? Is it achievable? It's really important just having those local people.
Gosford Quarries also specialise in heritage restoration. We have some of the latest technologies which can assist us in getting the most accurate detailing to replicate existing stone on site. Meaning, if there's a heritage building, we can take a 3D scanner and scan the existing stone on site and take that back to our machinery, program it in, and replicate that block in stone.
So Australia, and particularly Sydney, is unique in having these lightly coloured, honey-coloured sandstones. They're such high quality sandstones, and they have been used all around Australia. Other stones that come in from overseas do not have what we call the dimensional stone aspect of the material. Dimensional stone means it's the same material in the three-dimensional axis, X, Y and Z. So you can cut the stone one way or the other, it'll have similar properties.
Some of the most iconic projects we've been involved in the heritage sector would be the Australian War Memorial, the GPO building. We've also done work in the restoration of the spires of St Mary's Cathedral. The ongoing projects such as the Sydney Town Hall, Newcastle Town Hall. There's churches that have been restored as well in Sydney and in Hobart, in Adelaide. So there are quite a few projects that we've assisted with the restoration of.
In Sydney, there's spires on St Mary's Cathedral, and that was a three-generational thing. We finished the spires from this quarry, so it looked at the same age. We actually enhanced its colour. Naturally, we can play around with the oxidisation process, and it was done so the spires weren't this nice shiny new stone, and it blended in precisely to the yellow block stone that St Mary's was built from.
We're playing a big role as well in the new War Memorial in Canberra. That's a job that Gosford Quarries was involved with 40 years ago from the Wondabyne Quarry, and then again from the same area that we extracted the material to the War Memorial. We're back in there now, cutting the stone, getting it ready for the new stage.
The Australian War Memorial project is probably a once in a generation opportunity to update and enhance the facilities there, the amenity. With the Anzac Hall proposal that we put together, our proposition was that we would use the Wonderbine sandstone that is used in the main building, but in a way that's a bit more contemporary. So it's got a more textured finish to it, a hydrosplit finish it's called, which means that you can see that the materials are the same, from the same source, but you can pick what's new and what's original. So that differentiation in our mind was really important to help the new work sit in context, but also be clearly recognisable as a new addition. Definitely dealing with Gosford Quarries, they were very helpful about explaining our options in terms of the stone that's available. They can source all sorts of other stone, and very engaged in the process because they clearly understood that there's this sort of history of the building which they wanted to honour, and I guess in terms of follow-up service to a customer, you know, the original work was done in the 40s and they're still backing that up and providing that support.
I've been involved in some way, shape or form with Gosford Quarries for the last nearly 40 years, I think it is. This O'Connor & Sons have been basically doing Parliament House since 2006. We've been here ever since. We're doing the last stage, which is stage 13 now. The Gosford stone that we're using is compatible with the Stawell sandstone, which is the front of the building. It's a tricky building to work on because it's an occupied building, and obviously Parliament of Victoria sit in this building. So we have to work around, for example, sitting weeks when Parliament is sitting.
This is the famous Commonwealth Bank money box building. The original stage of the building is 1913, that section there, believed to be built out of Piedmont sandstone. And it's right at the transition where Piedmont sandstone and the quarries were defunct at Piedmont, and Wonderbine and Gosford Quarries came to preeminence as a sandstone supplier. The right-hand side of the building, including that Commonwealth Bank sign, is all the grey Wonderbine. It was built in 1931. So it's really a critical building in the history of Gosford Quarries, because this was the moment where Piedmont and Piedmont stones disappeared and Gosford stones became preeminent for supply into the city of Sydney.
The GPO was a 5-year turnaround. You know, what normally would have taken 20 or 30 years, the old system, we got in and got out. And that building today is standing there pristine.
Well, over the decades, we've done many various stages to the Sydney Town Hall. The biggest stage I remember was working on the front entry steps, the ramp and twist balustrades, all the balustrades at the front. Even the marble lining to the step treads was supplied and fixed by Gosford Quarries. We did restorations to the main pediments, and that was all because there was a royal visit coming up in 1991.
We do get a lot of properties wanting to incorporate sandstone into their natural environment because it really does suit so many different landscapes.
Usually it's either featuring throughout the house, whether it's internal, external, or external cladding, or just feature walls. We work very closely with architects to make the ideas come through.
Well, the owner was fairly keen on having the Gosford stone straight up. The way the stone's been laid, you couldn't want for anything better than what I've seen here. What we originally set out to do, it certainly met all our expectations in the delivery of the stone. It goes beyond anything that we've done before. It's certainly high level. I've got nothing but praise for Gosford Quarries with what they've actually supplied us and the team that they put together.
Gosford Quarries invested heavily in the civil sector. We were innovators in that sector. We created a lot of civil product that's now widely used across the country. That's played a big role in the success the company's seen in the last 10 years. Every time I'm in the city, every weekend I've got my kids, they're sick of me taking them down, showing them those proud moments I was involved with. The biggest benefit of being an Australian supplier is the fact that we can offer a lot of services that others can't offer, people that rely on imported material. That's why architects like to come to Gosford Quarries, and usually they're the one that specifies because they know that they would be looked after with a company that's going to control from extraction all the way to completion of project.
It's really important to know where it comes from and to understand the behaviour of the material, which we can see with Gosford Quarries. We can see the work around the city, but also go and source the stone, see where it's coming out of the ground, understand from the guys working it, what are the parameters, what are the variables that we can expect from it.
So getting that tour and really understanding from the people that are quarrying this material, their knowledge gave it another dimension and level that you don't appreciate unless you hear it from the people themselves.
As innovators, we're continually investing in new machinery, trying to find more efficient ways of processing.
For the last 10 years, every single year, I had 2 new machines going into the factory. And now our factory is state of the art.
But we also pay homage to the existing machinery on site as well. We've got heritage listed gang saws that are still in operation today. We offer our customers a very unique finish because of that.
Previously, because of technology limitations, sandstone was very expensive to get from the ground, was very laborious to make things in sandstone, and the technology wasn't quite there. But if we look at our factory these days, we have state-of-the-art 3D CNC machines, we have diamond-tipped saws. All of this goes to make the ability for us to deliver the sandstone cheaper than it used to be in the past and offer it to everyday mums and dads. Gosford Quarries has always been about getting the job done and getting the quality right.
Not all stone is stone, especially with sandstone. The makeup of the stone is really important to the integrity of the building, and I think Gosford Quarries has always had really quality stone, which then leads to quality buildings.
Quality is everything in our mind. It's not just the quality of the product, it's the quality of the people, of the customer service, and of the way Gosford Quarries present itself. Our role as professionals is to make sure that all stone gets put to use, but in the right environment. And so that's why we created the landscape division. We've introduced a lot of new product to the market with the landscape logs. We've actually invested in machinery to produce this product, to try to use what we couldn't use in the past. Well, in the past used to go to waste.
This quarry 1922, Piles Creek 954, and Patton's 1960. In those days, people weren't interested that much in the environment. Whole different ball game today. The environment is paramount.
We work closely with the Darkinjung Aboriginal Council. We take them out to show them the areas that are rehabilitated. They're quite impressed with the fact that the rehabilitated areas are back to normal within 10 or 15 years, that you wouldn't even recognise that these areas have been extracted.
We rehabilitate with around what's within our quarry. So when we clear a small area, we'll keep a seed bank, we'll keep vegetation, we keep timber and logs, and that's how we do it. So when we finish sterilising an area of resource, we fill it back in, and within 3 to 4 years we have it start base growth. Within 6 years we have it nearly back to what it was, and that's planned for now before we do any more quarrying, and it works really well.
Any company that has been around for 100 years has to have both a quality product and quality people. I think everyone here has a passion for the product, which really translates, and I think our customers appreciate that too.
People are exceptionally important to Gosford Quarries. Gosford Quarries is about the people. We take pride in our loyal employees. We've had some that have been with us for 20, 30, 40 years, which is quite remarkable in and of itself.
I really think the thanks for this company goes to all those men and women who are in the quarries, in the factory, who are driving trucks.
You come to work every morning with a smile and you're home with a smile. And when you do that, time just flies. Yeah, I don't know where it's gone.
It's quite extraordinary to think that he's 100 years old. It's even more extraordinary to think that I've been here 40% of that time.
I'm very proud. It was a dream come true for us to be able to play a role, to be part of the Gosford Quarries history.